video. Hi, I'm Kyle Harris, and we're going to talk to you today about, this is the third series of the videos we're making that are about baseball training using the NASM OPT model. In the first video, we talked about stabilization endurance training. In the second one, we talked about strength endurance training. This one, we're talking about hypertrophy, which is in the strength phase. It's the third phase, and it's the second phase of the strength phase. We're going to start our workouts like all the other ones. We're going to do an aerobic workout, an aerobic warm up for about 10 minutes. And then we're going to do our shoulder care. If you want to refer to the first video we made, stabilization endurance, that'll show you that shoulder care exercise workout. And then we're going to get into some foam rolling. The foam rolling is the same as in the first two phases, but I'm going to go over those again for this one. We're going to try to hit that TFL. So we're going to get up in this area here. We're going to just kind of roll around in that hip. Really can be the TFL or the anterior hip or even that glute med. We're going to find the tender area. We're going to hold that for 30 to 60 seconds on both sides. Next, we're going to get the piriformis. So again, we're going to come in. I like to sit right on the foam roller, cross my leg, and then that leg that's crossed, I get right on the glute and try to find those tender areas. And again, hold it for 30 to 60 seconds. After that, we're going to do our lats. So we're going to lay down here on the ball. We're going to try to find if there's any tender areas in the lats, up to the armpit, and we're going to hold again for 30 to 60 seconds. Once we do the lats, we're going to do our upper back and shoulder area. Like I showed you in that previous video, I like to use a ball. If you don't have a ball, you can still use the foam roller. Just find that area. You can manipulate that foam roller any way you need to. Off on a side, you can angle that foam roller and find it however you want to get that. We want to get the scap area, the rhomboids, the upper traps, and that. And then if we do a ball, I like to have my athletes use a wall first. So we come up against a wall, we'll put that ball on the wall, and then we find those areas in that ball, and then we can even cross our arms over and really get in underneath the scapula. With that ball on the wall as opposed to the ground, we have a little bit more control on how much pressure we're putting on it. So if it's a little painful and athlete's kind of tight, we can start off that way. Once we do that, we're going to get into the active isolated stretching portion of the hypertrophy phase. And the first one we're going to do is the adductor magnus. And again, we're going to do 1 to 2 sets of these. We're going to do 5 to 10 repetitions for each stretch. And we're going to hold that stretch for 1 to 2 seconds, trying to contract the opposing muscle. So as I come down through here, hold it 1, 2, and then I'll come back up. Down, 1, 2, and then I'll come back up, and then I would do the other side. A kneeling hip flexor. In the first video, we showed you the standing hip flexor. If you want to, you can do that on a knee. And we're gonna kind of posterior pelvic tilt, and then we're gonna contract. I'm doing my right hip flexor. We're gonna contract that right glute, and then relax. Contract the right glute, and then relax. And if I want to, I can even come up, and I can open up or lean back. As I do that, hold for about 2 seconds, and then relax. And then I would do it on the other leg. After that, we're gonna do the standing TFL. Again, we wanna have those legs staggered. I'm gonna come up to this way. I like to kick out, and then reach across that body, or reach back, hold that contraction for a couple of seconds, and then relax. Posterior pelvic tilt, contract that opposite glute, come back, hold, and then relax. The pectoral stretch, I like to use the ball. You can use a box or a chair. You can have your arm here. You're gonna come down, hold for 2 seconds, then come back up. Down, up, and then again we would do the other side. You can actually do that one if you do not have a ball or anything else. You can do it on a post, a wall, any kind of apparatus where you can put that arm up, turn away, 2-second hold, and relax. Turn away, 2-second hold, and relax. If you're trying to conserve time, you can find a corner. If you have a corner you can go to, you can maybe use this. You can post yourself up in that corner and then bring yourself into a deep push-up position and get both of the chests that way. And then the last one is the ball lat stretch. Come down on all fours, put one arm on a ball. You're gonna come up this way. Hold that for 2 seconds. Relax. And relax. And that would conclude the active isolated stretching portion of the strength phase. So we're entering the core and balance portion of our workout. We're going to work the core and we're going to do a little bit of a balance exercise here. In the hypertrophy phase, we're going to do 2 to 3 sets depending on the week. And we're going to start with about, we're going to start with reverse hypers. I'm sorry here. We're doing 12 reps at this stage. And since we don't have a reverse hyper machine here, we have a makeshift, we have a hyper extension, we're gonna get on it backwards, and we've got a band here, since we wanna start adding some resistance. So we're gonna hook our legs in there. If we have a partner, they can help. So that's how we're gonna perform our weighted reverse hypers. Here, if we had a reverse hyper machine, we would just simply add weight, just like we would in our resistance portion, and we progress going that way. After that, we're gonna head over and work with some other equipment. We're gonna do cable rotations next. In the strength phase, we're still working these pretty controlled. We do 12 repetitions in week 1. We increase resistance as we go, and in week 4 of the hypertrophy phase, we may be down to 8 repetitions. Then I'll do the other side. On a different day of the workout, I may supplement this with a cable chop. And then on day 3, I may do a cable lift. And we're just hitting those muscles differently. We're hitting some more muscles, trying to keep that very functional style of training for our core. Next, we're going to do some stability ball crunches. And we could add weight to this. We could probably use a low pulley, get a cable. Easiest way would be to take a weight plate or a dumbbell and just hug it on our chest, curl up this way, or even a medicine ball. And then lastly, in this portion, we're gonna work balance. So we're gonna do a single leg squat touchdown, and we're gonna add some resistance. In week 1, we're going to use 5% of our body weight. I'm about 180 pounds. This is an 8-pound ball. 5% would be about 9 pounds. So I'm going to come down this way. I'm going to do a squat touchdown, and then back up. 6 reps on one side, and then 6 reps on the other. As we progress through the hypertrophy phase, we would increase the weight by moving to 8% of body weight and maybe even 10% of the body weight. So after the flexibility portion of our workout in the hypertrophy strength phase, we're going to move on to plyometrics. In the plyometric phase here in week 1, we're going to do 2 sets of 8 repetitions. Those acute variables will change as we progress from weeks 2 into 3 into 4. But what we do in this phase is our plyometrics are still repeating. We might use a larger box if an athlete's technique, posture, and functionality are proper. We're going to do box jumps here, and we're going to do them repeating. That's the first exercise. The second one we're going to do, again, we're going to do 8 reps. We're going to do frontal cone hops. So we're going to do jumping repeatedly back and forth over the cones. And then the last one we're going to do our power step-ups. Okay, so we've done plyometrics. We're going to move on to speed, agility, and fitness training now for the hypertrophy phase. So we're progressing these exercises. We may make the ladder portion of it, the speed ladder portion, or the footwork portion a little more difficult. We're starting to add in some reactive training, maybe some resistive training, but we're still going to start with some technique stuff. So we're going to show you some A skips. We're going to do some A skips. As those feet hit, we want to be in dorsiflexion there. So as we come up, plantar flexion, and then we're hitting in dorsiflexion. We want to maintain our posture and get a good natural arm swing. After that, we're going to go to our wall drill. Again, this is a technique drill, but it's also good for speed. We're going to find a wall, and we're going to do a 1-3-5 today. So we're going to get that 45-degree angle. We're going to engage our core here. We're going to start with one leg up in that good position, triple flexion. And then we're just going to come 1, 2, 1. So after we've got that down, we should have that from the first couple phases, the training we've done. We're going to get our 3s in. And then if we're hitting those with proper technique, we'll go to 5s. After our 1-3-5 drill, we're going to move on to the speed ladder, and we're going to do 2 ins on the speed ladder. So our 2 ins, again, we're working technique. We're trying to get those knees high, nice natural arm swing, 2 feet in each box. And if you lead with the left foot on the way down, make sure you turn around, lead with the right foot on the way back. After that, we're going to do a 5-10-5 drill. Now, we don't have a whole lot of room in here. Very cold and dark outside today. So we're going to modify that. So we've got cones set here, and we want them 5 yards apart. So we're going to start here. Initially, when doing this, we're going to go on the athlete when the athlete's ready. The athlete will take off, sprint 5 yards, come back across 10 yards, finish in the middle. If we start to the right the first time, we'll start to the left the second time. As we progress, we might go on a coach saying go, working on that first step. Then we might go to a visual cue where the coach might drop something or show something or say when I do this or that. So for baseball, we could have a coach set up like a pitcher. When he goes home, boom, we could work on our steel start seven. Or we could do a mirror drill. I would be here, I'd have a partner in front of me. One of us would decide who's going to go first, the other one would react. I'm going to show you briefly what we would do for a 5-10-5. That's the 5-10-5 drill. After that, we're going to do another speed ladder. We're going to do upper body agility. So here we're going to start this way today. We're going to come in, out, out. To work that upper body agility, shoulder stabilization. The next thing we're going to do is some resistive training. Got to find my speed band. And we're going to get our good friend Yukon to help us today. And there's a lot of different ways you can do this. We just have a training band here. One you would use for band walks, resistance training with bands. We're just going to circle that around us like he's lassoing on my hips. I'm going to get into a good athletic position, and then I'm just going to shove it. He's going to try to resist that. And then we're going to go to the left as well when we do that. There's harnesses and belts you can buy, bungee cords, things like that. But good old-fashioned bands work great. Another thing you can do is if you have long towels, you can wrap those up. Wrap the towels around the waist, and an athlete, training partner, can apply the force that way. And then lastly, we're going to do a little bit of reactive training and do some sprint starts. During another day of training, in this same phase, we would do these starts, but we'd do steel starts. So we'd be this way, and then we'd be going. We're going to do this on the coach's cue. So my videographer is going to say go when he wants me to take off. I'm just going to get into a good starting position. And when he says go, I'll take off. Go. So depending on where we at in our training phase, that sprint start would be about 15 yards. We'd stop, come back, and then we do it again for 3 to 4 sets. As we move on, like I said, later in the week, we would do a steal start from that same position. We'd be here in our good stance like we're gonna steal. Coach would say go, boom, we cross over and take off. We'd eventually move that on to more reactive training using our visual senses. Now, as we move on and progress here, we want to talk about rest times during the SAQ training. When we're doing SAQ training, we want to take at least a 1-to-3 ratio of rest, if not a 1-to-5. That means if it takes you 20 seconds to do the activity, you should be resting 60 to 100 seconds. Okay, so now we've done all of our preliminary work. We've gotten our flexibility work, our SAQ, our plyometrics. We're going to move to resistance training now. So in the hypertrophy days, we are going to, depending on the week, we're going to start with 12 reps, and as we progress and increase intensity, we're going to decrease all the way down to 6 reps. We're going to start at 3 sets and move up to 5, maybe even 6 sets for the exercises. We're doing a total body workout for this 3 days a week, so we're going to hit all the muscle groups, and we're going to start with a squat. There's multiple ways to progress the squat or regress the squat. We can use box squats, we can use pause squats, we can do banded squats. But for hypertrophy, we're gonna pretty much probably just do regular squats, just like that. After that, since we squatted today, we're gonna move to barbell RDLs. On a different day, we may do some regular deadlifts if we were not squatting. But since we're squatting and we're doing total body, instead of doing a full deadlift, we're gonna do Romanian deadlifts today. And again, depending on the week for hypertrophy training, week 1, 2, 3, 4, that depends on the number of reps we're gonna do. Week 1, we're gonna do 12, then we're down to 10 in week 2, 8 in week 3, 6 in week 4. Our intensity increases from 75% all the way up to 85% in that 4-week block. So then we're gonna move to some pulling. With baseball, I like to keep the pulling at least equal to the amount of pushing we're gonna do, if not more. So we're gonna do a rack chin. You can use any apparatus for a rack chin. You can use you can use any kind of cage, walk-in squat rack. Smith machine's great. You can hook it on, it's good. If it's a good sturdy Smith machine. If it's a cheap one, we have to find something else. But you want to find a place, a box or a bench to put your feet on, and then you're going to basically simulate a pull-up. The great thing about a rack chin is that we can progress it or regress it very, very easily. By lowering the bar, moving the bar up, taking our box or bench away, we can make the exercise easier or harder. We can also add weight to our legs. I moved my box because it was a little unsturdy. If I had a box here, I could add weight to my legs to increase the difficulty. After that, we're gonna move to a pushing exercise. Today, since we squatted as our main lift, we're gonna do dumbbell bench presses instead of regular bench presses. It's important to make sure that when we're doing those, we're controlling our scapula, we're keeping them back and down, not letting them come up and roll forward. After that, like I said, I like to keep the pushing at least 1-to-1, so we're gonna do another back exercise, we're gonna do barbell rows. Now, sometimes barbell rows can be a tricky exercise for kids. They don't hinge properly. So we could modify that by using dumbbells. Have them sit back, have them row with the dumbbells in the same fashion. If that doesn't work, we can support their chest on a bench or an incline bench and do the same thing. After dumbbell rows, we're gonna do another pushing exercise. We're gonna do standing barbell shoulder press. So our main lift today was a squat. Our second main lift I would like to call our shoulder press. That's why we wanted to supplement with the dumbbells there for some chest presses. With standing shoulder press, athletes sometimes like to arch and cheat. We want to keep it really controlled for baseball. We're working on stabilization. We're going to be strong over our head. We're not doing anything that's going to damage the shoulder complex. Also, it's important to keep that shoulder complex stable to work the rear delts as well. So we're going to do some bent over laterals. I like to do these standing. However, again, sometimes that's very difficult for some of the high school athletes to master. So we'll do them seated a lot of times. And I have them put their legs off the bench as far as they can and still be stable. Come down below. Doing it this fashion actually lets those legs kind of act as a brace for their abs. If they keep their abs tight and do that, it should take the stress off their low back. Now we're gonna do a little bit of arms. Every high school kid loves to do arms, so we gotta throw some arms in there, throw them a bone. So we're gonna do close grip bench press. It's a little bit more of a functional exercise than just a cable press down. We wanna make sure we're close enough that we can really keep our elbows tight, but not so close that we're putting stress on the wrist or we're unstable. And then we're going to move right into some bicep curls with the barbell. And that would conclude the resistance portion of our workout. After that, we'd revert back to our static stretching as part of our cool down, holding each static stretch for 30 to 60 seconds.